DBA exemptions explained. When is DBA insurance not required? If your company performs work overseas under a United States government contract, you've probably heard about Defense-Based Act insurance. But one question comes up again and again. Are we exempt? The answer is maybe. Not every overseas project is treated exactly the same. One of the biggest mistakes contractors make is assuming they are exempt without verifying the facts. Today, we'll explain DBA exemptions in simple language and help you understand why contract review is so important. Let's get started. First, what is the Defense-Based Act? The Defense-Based Act, DBA, is a federal law that generally requires workers' compensation type benefits for certain employees working outside the United States under covered government contracts. The law was designed to protect employees working overseas while supporting government operations. Does every overseas contractor automatically need DBA insurance? Not necessarily. While many overseas government contracts require DBA coverage, there are situations where exemptions or waivers may exist. Never assume your company qualifies for an exemption simply because another contractor told you so. Every contract should be reviewed individually. So what exactly is a DBA exemption? A DBA exemption generally refers to a situation where the Defense-Based Act does not apply because of the specific facts, the nature of the work, or the applicable legal requirements. The availability of an exemption depends on the law and the specific contract. It is not something a contractor simply chooses. Many people also confuse exemptions with waivers. These are not always the same thing. A waiver generally involves an official action that allows certain requirements to be modified or not applied under specific circumstances. An exemption generally means the law itself does not apply in that situation. Understanding the difference is important because the legal requirements may be very different. One common misconception is that local employees are always exempt. That is not necessarily true. Coverage requirements can vary depending on the contract, applicable law, and whether any authorized waiver has been granted. Never assume worker nationality alone determines if DBA applies. Another misconception, subcontractors are automatically exempt. Again, that is not correct. Many subcontractors working under qualifying government contracts may also have DBA obligations. Being a subcontractor does not automatically eliminate DBA requirements. Some contractors believe that having a domestic workers' compensation policy means they do not need DBA insurance. In many cases, that assumption is incorrect. Traditional workers' compensation and Defense-Based Act insurance are separate coverages designed for different situations. What about commercial contracts? If your company performs overseas work for a private client with no qualifying government connection, DBA insurance may not apply. However, many overseas projects involve multiple contracts and funding sources. Reviewing the actual contract documents is so important. Government funding can also create confusion. Some projects are directly funded by the U.S. government. Others involve grants or contracts through other organizations. Determining whether DBA applies often depends on the legal structure of the project. That analysis should be completed before work begins. Some contractors assume that projects located in friendly countries are automatically exempt. Location alone usually does not determine whether DBA applies. A project in Europe, Asia, Africa, South America, or the Middle East may still involve DBA requirements depending on the contract. The nature of the agreement is generally far more important than the country. Why is contract review so important? The contract often contains insurance requirements that contractors are expected to satisfy before mobilization. Waiting until employees arrive overseas is far too late. Reviewing insurance requirements during the bidding process allows contractors to prepare properly. Who should review these requirements? Experienced insurance advisors, legal counsel when appropriate, contract administrators who understand federal contracting. The goal is to identify potential obligations before they become problems. Let's look at a simple example. Imagine two engineering firms working in the same country. One is performing work under a qualifying U.S. government contract. The other is working exclusively for a private commercial client. Even though both companies are performing similar engineering services, their insurance requirements may be completely different. The contract matters. Another example, two subcontractors may be working on the same overseas project. One performs work under a contract requiring DBA coverage. The other performs unrelated commercial work. Again, the applicable insurance requirements may be very different. That is why assumptions can become costly. What happens if a contractor incorrectly assumes they are exempt? Potential consequences may include contract compliance issues, project delays, unexpected insurance costs, claims complications, legal exposure, difficulty qualifying for future government work. Taking the time to review the requirements in advance helps reduce these risks. The good news, most compliance problems can be avoided with proper planning. Contractors should review insurance requirements before bidding. before signing contracts, before sending employees overseas. A proactive approach is almost always less expensive than fixing problems after work has already started. Let's summarize today's discussion. Not every overseas contractor is automatically exempt from Defense Base Act requirements. Exemptions and waivers are not the same thing. Domestic workers' compensation does not replace DBA insurance. Subcontractors are not automatically exempt. Project location alone does not determine applicability. Most importantly, never rely on assumptions. Always review the contract and understand your insurance obligations before work begins. Thank you for joining us today. We hope this webinar helped simplify one of the most misunderstood areas of Defense Base Act insurance. If you found this presentation helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with others involved in government contracting. Need a second opinion on your insurance program, contract requirements, or risk financing strategy? Schedule a confidential discussion. Visit montridgeinsurance.com. Thanks for watching. We look forward to seeing you in the next